Gundam.tk presents Master Grade Blitz Gundam. Hey again everybody, it's Robert184, 2rs2b's Gundam Reviews.net, and you've seen everything for the Master Grade Blitz from the unbox to the plates to all the individual parts in all of their glorious Master Grade complexity, but now it's time to see if the mobile suit is going to be cool enough for you to want to add to your own collection on your shelf. And then, like a bat out of somewhere, the Blitz Gundam appears, or reappears, or decloaks, or you get the idea. Anyway, when you first look at this guy, my first impression was just how busy this is, and I've said it before, but just how Master Grade-ish that is. And that's just thanks to the fact that it's got all of these details. If you just look at the amount of gray that's exposed there, from up here on the shoulders, we've just got that little bit underneath there for the Mirage Colloid, looking good with the little circles. The red details that are built in there, the number of red parts there that make up the chest. Never mind the fact that whenever you're looking at these thrusters here, that you've got the black, then the red, then the black again. Everything is looking very detailed, very fantastic, and remember that you have such a tiny little seal sheet that none of that is being cheated and done with this, unless you want to go ahead and cover up that clear red, which I don't really want to try anyway at this moment. The legs are looking good. I'm a big fan of this purple, red, and black combo there that you're getting on top of each other. The only thing is, he's looking very cool, very stylized, but he's going to look a little bit plain, I think, until you actually throw on the weapons, especially if you put him up to somebody like the Dual Assault Shroud at the moment. But to articulation first, where you're going to be able to move up those skirts, and they are feeling loose, which is a little bit as I feared in the parts video there. But you're able to bring the legs up there for a kick if you want. You can get the knees out of the way, but you're not going to get much more than that. Off to the side skirts aren't going to let you do the full skirts there, or even if the hips would. The knees are going to look fantastic, though, with that bend mechanism there for the knee that you may be able to make out. Remember, double ankles there, so these are going to be moving all over the place very well, and you can get that toe down all the way. This red part, though, is just not going to fit on all that well. You got to be very careful with it, and you can also move this part on the back, if you so choose. For the upper body, it's nice that the way the shoulders are actually going to fit on even without putting the arms in. You don't have to do the arms into the shoulders and put them on there. They're both going to fit on pretty well. You give a good push there, and they'll go all the way in. In terms of this, though, you're going to have lots of details there in the chest, and in terms of this, you can rotate it around, maybe go a little bit more if you want, but it's going to move forward and back very well, as including off to the side. That's an incredible amount of movement, despite the problems putting it together there. For the arms, though, you can do that 180, and you can bring them forward if you want here, but you're not going to be able to bring them as much forward with the actual arms attached, which is a little bit to be expected. Remember, you can pop this open and expose the cool weaponry that's going to make this guy cloak faster than a Romulan. Close that back up, and then you've got this over 135 with the elbows, and the thrusters are not going to move all that much. This part here should not be moving, although it is going to fall off when you don't want it to, and also in the construction here, those gray parts kept falling off again. Now, armed up, you're going to have a lot more familiar here for the Blitz Gundam in terms of looks. When you put this weapon on over here on the arm, it's going to have no problems at all, no weight issues. For this one, you're going to be, the hand itself is not all that intuitive in terms of you've got a trigger finger that you're going to plug in first, and then you basically take that purple part off, put it back on. And anyway, once you do that, though, it's not going to fit in all that well until you take that gray part and plug it into the forearm. But to do that, you're going to have to bring it under here just because the length of the shield is going to bump into those extra side devilish shoulders. But overall, outside of the fact that you're going to have these needles just being a little bit loose until they fall down into place thanks to gravity, this guy is certainly looking a lot more armed up now than he was a moment ago. For height comparison, let's start old school here. This is the 1/100th Burga Gyros before Master Grades existed. And you can see that whereas here you're going to have all sorts of details and parts and colors all over the place, here you're just going to have a few colors outside of the fact that you've got that cool piping, and everything else is going to be provided by seals or your own paint job. Next to the Dual, when it's all assault shrouded up though, the Blitz is going to look just a little bit smaller, although still sleeker and faster. Great color combinations here though, between the two shades of blue or purple there with the orange, compared to the black, the red, and the purple, which is just a great combination there, I think, for the Blitz. Not to mention the fact that you're going to get the details like the white darts. But overall, these two together are very much looking like a fearsome team that you would not want to be facing off as a rookie. But here's the comparison I've been waiting for from the beginning. This is the gold frame Amatsu over here, one of the Astrays, and it's looking very, very cool. And a lot larger just in terms of size. This one is not a Master Grade, but because it's got the gold on there, it also has a lot of red seals making up the color that's going to go all over the place. One of the big advantages of a Master Grade today. but it's going to look, I'd say that this one is going to look cooler, but you can see a lot of similarities there from the way that the feet are going to be covered there with the red parts, but you'll notice more importantly that you're going to have a very framish arm there showing off its color, whether it's red, blue, or gold, or green, I suppose. But this arm is going to be identical because in story, well, the Blitz lost his arm and then it was going to be picked up by a gold frame that at the time only had a left arm, I think, and a big bazooka. Anyway, I digress, but in the end, it was able to pick up the weaponry and the Mirage Colloid from that, and I'll show you these two up close, but side by side, I think it's a very cool combination to see these two. Let's start up at the top with the Master Grade here on the left. You'll see that these parts, there's going to be red parts there down below on the left side for both of them. But in this case, you're just going to have to go put your own lining in, whereas with this one, you actually have lined for you black parts, which is fantastic. Red seals on the top there, and a red seal here, whereas this one is actually done up in plastic. Gray inner frame there as opposed to the purple, but this is a gold mechie part, which is always a plus, and you can just see the complexity there that makes up the inside, and remember that this one has the ability to show off the cool toys on the inside. Looking at the forearms themselves, you can see that you're going to have some purple inner frame there, and it's going to be very simple on the elbows as opposed to this one, not to mention the fact that the black is just a lot more glossy. So a lot more details over here, and the manipulators are going to be much more old school here, and they're not going to give you a 3-finger trigger finger split, and nor is this. But when you take a look at the shield, the backs are going to be totally different there, both in design and execution. This one just has some big black parts there on the top. The red is going to be provided by seals and nothing else, and a big chunk of purple down there below. Whereas here you're going to have these nice 4 colors. And while they both have a beam rifle, this one's going to be a lot more complicated down here with that red part down there for the barrel. Not to mention the clear red there for the scope, this purple color detail back there. But I'd have to say that this one is going to have the darts staying in a little bit better. But these are very plain darts as opposed to the white ones with the lining opportunities and the purple. And there is no extra beam saber sitting in here for the Amatsu. To posing now, where that frame on the inside of these Seed bad guys is just doing a fantastic thing because yes, unlike the Master Grade Ground Gundam where you have to fuss and muss to get everything down on one knee here, this guy, usually you do have to mess around whether it's with the Titus or the Age 1 or things like that. But in this case, it was just lickety-split because you're able to get that knee guard is going to go down and just provide that little bit of extra lift that you normally need. These ankles are going to move around all over the place. You could even get the toe out of the way there if you wanted to. And the upper body is a little bit awkward depending on which angle you look at him. But because there's so much posability there, this kind of pose is going to offer no problems in terms of ground poses and would actually make a pretty cool setup if you had the Aegis flying in and then the duel off to the side and then Buster just blasting behind them all. On his feet, and unlike some other Master Grades where sometimes the ankle moves too much, and I'm talking about Master Grade Exia and pretty much all of the Age 1 kits so far. Anyway, with this guy, he's doing a fantastic job. His feet will go there, and yet they're going to stay stiff enough to stay into place. They're not going to go collapsing all over there, and whatever you do with these two weapons, they're going to look pretty good, especially as he's looking down the barrel of them. But you know, if you put some time into the posing, you can make them look even cooler. With the help of an action base one and that custom mount mechanism, and it's sort of cool that you can see the hips are going to move down, and you can see that because there's going to be a hollow space under there. The thrusters aren't going to offer you as many dynamic poses. You'd think that they could have put in a little bit more, but just the way this guy is stylized and with the two cool looking weapons, he was made to be aerial and certainly come leaping down when you least expect it, especially thanks to his powers of the invisibility cloak. The million-dollar question is not whether will it blend or not, but whether gravity is going to allow this wire to keep this weapon up in the air and looking very, very dynamic, and I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, well, besides the fact that it's falling out, it doesn't look too likely. But if you take a look at that gray part is supposed to be attached in a certain way, and if you bend this yellow part, it was going to collapse earlier there. You can see it sort of twisting off to the side, but for the meantime, yes, you can have Blitz looking cool for a few moments anyway. And after that one little bit of luck there, I haven't had any more. And so having given up on that, it looks like if you want to have that pincher claw extended, your best bet, unless you want to put a clear base under it as they do in the hobby magazines and you'll see on a lot of the cool photo review sites. Anyway, this way it just sits there on the forearm. It's a little bit extended from the body, so it's okay, but really not as much as you'd hope it could be. And finally, you can see that the beam saber is going to attach in there for a cannon use of this weapon. And if you want to take one of the darts out, you can put them in hand. They do have the grips there, or you can be silly like this for a non-cannon weapon use. And finally, with Mirage Colloid engaged, you're going to see the Blitz at his absolute best. So that's going to wrap up my look at the mobile suit for this Master Grade Blitz Gundam. Lots of positives, lots of negatives. The looks are certainly a big one. But anyway, stick around for the verdict where I'll have a complete list of all the good and bad things that I could pick out. But of course, you can pick out your own with a comment down below. Love to hear from you so people get more than one opinion. And as always, thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Wait a minute, I've got my colloid on too. How come you can see me?